from a galaxy far, far away.
And a bookshelf straight out of the 90s.
From Thrawn to Dantooine.
And everything in between. This is Legends Lookback.
And here we are, coming to you live. Legends Lookback from youtube.com/Utini, or something like that. I'm pretty sure that's it. If you're here, welcome. If you're not, where are you? Hey, it's time for the show. We are coming to you live here on Thursday night, May the 6th, 2021. Looking at my Star Wars calendar over here that I changed a couple of days late in May because what is time? It's nebulous. Speaking of which, I just read a Legends book with time travel. Oh my gosh, that was wild. That's for another show. And we just are hot off the heels of May 4th. Guys, I want to know, how was your May 4th? Was it with you this year? Were you with it? How about you, Freddy?
I was with it. Oh yeah. If there's nothing I love more, it's getting a lightsaber, just taking it to the side of my wallet and just bleeding it dry. Because that's exactly what happened. Just taking my wallet.
Oh,
yeah,
okay,
taking my wallet.
Yeah.
Just bleeding it dry. That's exactly what happened.
This May 4th especially felt like an egregious grab on my wallet this year, more than other years. Is it always this way? And I'm just more financially stable due to my stimmies. I don't know what it is, but
stimmies.
It definitely has felt like a money grab, hasn't it?
Yeah, this one, honestly, it did feel like a money grab. I feel like through the history, it's progressively gotten to that point. But this is also the first year where I probably received more text messages about Star Wars Day than my own birthday, which was fantastic. I mean, who can disagree with that?
Well, that's really cool. That's one of the things I always love about May 4th is my casual Star Wars fan friends come out of the woodworks, and then I'm like, hey, did you know I got a podcast? And so hopefully we'll have a few new listeners tonight. If so, what's up? Also want to say what's up to our guest this episode, Cheryl. Cheryl, how was your May the 4th?
It was good. I went to the dentist.
Oh, that's not what I would call good.
No, it was good. I took the day off. I watched Bad Batch, had a dentist appointment, did the watch party with Utini, which was super fun, and I did not buy anything. So.
Oh, the watch party. Don't even get me started. All right, I watched Bad Batch at 5 a.m. thanks to those freaking birds that live outside my window that wake me up every day at 5 a.m. This time around, I actually mean thank you to those freaking birds because I was like, good, I'm going to watch Bad Batch for my kids get up, got downstairs, made a cup of coffee, ate some cereal, and it was excellent. And then when it came time for the watch party, my wife was like, all right, our friends are going to be here in 5 minutes. And I was like, wait, what? You telling me that we double booked over the watch party? She was like, it's not in the calendar. I was like, it's May the 4th. My whole day is Star Wars. It's blocked. So for every May 4th going forward into my digital calendar, I've got it as a yearly repeating event. Don't make any plans unless they're Star Wars plans.
That's great.
It was great having our friends over and all that, but why not May 5th? We saw them the next day. Anyway, it was fine. I'm very disappointed that I missed the watch party. How was it, Cheryl? Did you enjoy it?
It was good. I enjoyed it, yeah.
Oh, my goodness. Well, you are having a busy month over here at Utini. We'll talk more about that in a second. And so, Meg, I didn't get to ask you. How was your May the 4th? I know you bought some Bo-Katan merch. How many Bo-Katan-themed things did you buy on May the 4th?
I mean, on the actual day, one.
Yes. Conservative amount.
But that doesn't mean that more aren't on the way, maybe. Possibly. I bought a lot of things. It's fine. My bank account's not fine. It's fine.
I showed a lot of restraint, I think, with what I bought on May the 4th this year. We had a lot of notice. Star Wars got their deals up. StarWars.com got their deals up pretty early. There were a few surprises on the day of. For the most part, you had some advance warning on what was going to come out. I did impulse buy a Batu Starbucks mug. Because if I drink my coffee, I'd like to pretend like I'm in a galaxy far, far away. I've got a lot of, coffee cups that I bought in college that are now wearing out, and their paint's faded, and they're chipped, and, my kids drop them. And so I was like, time to get a new coffee mug. I'm just going to buy the one. And it was more than I want to spend on a coffee mug most of the time, but it better be nice. I'm hoping it's nice. I've got a lot of mug envy. I love coffee. We love coffee here at Legends Lookback, but not noodles, only coffee. I, of course, also bought a few Legends video games. Freddy, I'm wondering if, like, maybe this summer we could do a collab with Game Night where we, like, play some Dark Forces and Jedi Knight, Jedi Academy.
Star Wars
and
Galaxies. Yep.
we do. Oh, and there it is. This is Legends Lookback because, in case you didn't see the logo right there, here's another way to know. Freddy just mentioned Star Wars Galaxies. So, without further ado, let's talk about some Legends books. Roll the tape. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Legends Look Back, a show that is proudly part of the Utini Podcast Network, because that's a thing now, a Star Wars books podcast for people who happen to like their Nokia flip phones just fine the way they were. Thank you very much. Where we talk about all things Star Wars Legends, celebrating our rich EU history, as well as diving into lesser-known Star Wars classics. I'm your host, Jared Mays, joined once again this week by Freddy C., who doesn't always caravan, but when he does, he caravans courageously. How's it going, Freddy?
Hey, everybody, this is your buddy Kermit.
Oh, no.
Heck was that?
Somebody's been watching the
It's great. So I got to tell you,
Muppet
man,
show on Disney Plus.
I've been really into Kermit the Frog and the Muppets recently, and so I've been watching. You mentioned Caravan of Courage, but I'm telling you guys, you got to see the special Muppets with the C-3PO, Chewbacca. I believe Billy D's even on there, and of course Luke Skywalker himself, Mark Hamill. So
I actually had this written in the show notes a few weeks ago, scrapped it for something else, like Tamagotchis, I don't know. But I actually watched this one recently, too. Watched them with my kids. They really loved the little jokes and songs, and there's some little musical numbers here and there. The Star Wars episode, it's a little Trekky. There's like it looks more like Star Trek than it does Star Wars.
yeah.
But then
That's
you've
for
got
sure.
like the famous meme. I was watching it and I was like, there it is. That's the meme. That's the meme right there.
The
almost knocked
Palpatine
over
meme.
with no the meme of C-3PO
C-3PO
dancing.
Oh, dancing.
on
That's
this-
right.
This like
The tap dancing.
yeah. It was like that's the meme. That's the gif. That's the only episode of the Muppet Show I have watched, maybe ever. I was like, I heard that this hit Disney Plus, and I was like, all right, we got some old Star Wars stuff, and I love the like inside joke they have with Luke being Mark Hamill or being Luke Skywalker, and then he goes backstage and changes clothes
To
And
his
then-
for his what was it, his brother or his cousin or something like
yeah,
that?
I liked that. You could tell Mark had a really good time. That's awesome. Well, I wonder, what about our guest? Does she like the Muppet Show? Does she even have a clue what we're talking about? That is, of course, Cheryl, the star of Utini's month of May, or shall we call it the month of Thrawn? We just sprung something on you here, Cheryl. Do you have a clue what Freddy's talking about?
Yes,
Good.
I'm of the generation that grew up with Muppets Tonight Show. That was
Okay.
like, you were so excited for that to come on, and I love the Muppets, and you need to watch more of it because it's hilarious.
I might need like a curated guide of the top 10 best episodes to watch. I just don't know. I got a lot of Legends video games to play. Let's be honest. My wife's like, "How many games did you buy?" I'm like, "Don't worry, I'll play them. It's gonna be great. I'll play them.
All
They're
of
not
them.
just gonna sit in my digital library." But that's great. I really loved the Star Wars Muppets collaboration, like the merch they used to have back before the mouse kind of like rebranded things around 2013, 2014 with the takeover. I used to have this awesome shirt. It was like a recreation of the original Star Wars poster of, like Kermit holding up the lightsaber and then Miss Piggy with her leg hanging out of the dress and the Darth Gonzo. And then somebody stole it at church camp. Who steals somebody's shirts at church camp?
Oh no.
Tell you what, somebody needs to repent. Anyway, if you're listening to this and you stole my shirt, you can hit me up on Twitter at JaredQMays, and I'll give you my address, and you can send it back to me. All right, I know it's been 10 years, but I really did like that shirt. You can't find those suckers anymore. Well, you've heard her laughing there in the background, and I did not forget to introduce her this week. We also have joining us tonight, alongside Freddy and Cheryl, we have once again the tech of our Bad Batch, our buddy Meg, running the keys over there behind the screens, keeping the show running. How are you, my friend?
I am fantastic. And actually, I just took they put out StarWars.com put out that quiz of which Bad Batch member are you? I'm tech, so it all works
really?
out
Nice,
beautifully.
cool.
Yes, it does. Fantastic.
Man, Eric says in the chat, the most vicious kids I ever knew I met at church camp. That needs to be the title of your next mixtape, for sure. And he also makes a good point that I made the whole bit about Bo-Katan, what you bought on May the 4th, and now I'm just looking at her stare into my soul every time I make a stupid joke. She's looking at me like, nope, wasn't funny. Wasn't funny. So what's up to Bo-Katan there in the background? Gratefully, she doesn't have her own microphone because I do not want to hear what she's thinking right now. I can't stop looking into her eyes, Meg. Help! Okay, well, I want to ask Cheryl, of course, you have been on the show. This is your third time on Legends Lookback, of course, always with us here in the chat. And most of the time here with us in the chat, one of our most loyal fans, and I would say, of course, more importantly, a friend at this point. But I got a little beef, Cheryl. They're trying to poach you over there at Conja Book Club. I feel like there's a little bit of rivalry happening over Cheryl. We had some behind-the-scenes Slack convos about, like, hey, we claimed her first. Tell us about what you're doing over there at Conja Book Club.
I was invited after volunteering as tribute multiple times to talk Greater Good, which I have only got up to chapter 14, so no spoilers.
Okay, I'm a bad secret keeper. There's like one big twist. It's when you find out that I'm gonna keep it. I'm not gonna say it.
I'm also gonna be on Star Wars Archives.
Oh yeah! Wow, you're really collecting these like stones in your Infinity Gauntlet. Yeah. So cool, excellent. I haven't even been on that show proper yet. They talked about having me on, and then crickets. So hey, looking forward to that. Looking forward to listening to you on it. Honestly, it might be my favorite podcast ever of anything. I really love Star Wars Archives. They're doing a great job. It's just right up my alley. Very much my niche. Trevor and I share a Legends soul in a weird way. Freddy agrees. Well, I really loved listening to your episode of Conja Book Club. Can't wait again to listen this weekend. Absolutely marvelous content over there. Loving your analysis of Big Bluey himself in his... How many novels has Thrawn been in at this point? 1, 2, 3, 4, I don't know, like 9th or 10th novel? And we're talking a little bit about this tonight. More importantly, going to be talking about Thrawn's first foray into the prequel era in Outbound Flight. We're starting our Outbound Flight roundtable tonight. And I could not be more excited about it. But before we do, we have our recently renamed segment, Thracken's Thrift Store. My first thing to show off is my copy of Outbound Flight. I picked this up whenever we do like a big round table for Legends Lookback. I think like now might be a chance to go ahead and get my hands on a nice hardback copy. Went ahead and found this at a really good price in the Facebook Smugglers Alliance group that I'm in or something like that. This one is, I was disappointed when it showed up to find out that it is the smaller size. You know what I'm talking about, Freddy? You got any like this?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
It showed up. I was like, oh, okay, that's fine.
It's like a special edition, or what is it, the Science Book Club version or something like that. Those have a typically different size than normal.
It is hardback, and it's in good condition, and it was cheap, so like, I don't want to complain. Especially, I just love the back of it. Look at the cover here. Look at Young Thrawn. Nice. It sounds like a rapper, Young Thrawn. Over here, looking hot and fresh, and this might be my favorite Thrawn art ever. Love this. How about you guys? You got any new acquisitions to show off on the show?
I do. I got this bad boy right here.
Oh, don't even get
finally.
me started, Freddy.
It only took I don't know how many delays, but I finally got it. So I'm really excited to bust this open real soon. Yeah,
this book
the
has
artwork is so nice.
If you're listening on audio, Freddy is showing off the Star Wars Insider Fiction Collection Volume 1. You know what we're talking about. We've talked about it at length on this show. It after being delayed 2 or 3 times, has now been released, and it's hardback, and people have it, and they're showing pictures, and they're freaking out. You know who else is freaking out? This guy, because as one of the biggest Legends fans in the universe, I have a freaking Legends podcast, all right? I've been hyping this book. I love Insider. I've been reading Insider for a decade, and I still don't have mine. It's supposed to be in a week. I'm going to be patient. It's fine.
That's wild.
I just got a really good audiobook today that I'm digging. I've got a lot of yard work ahead of me. I'm really busy with work. It's fine. I feel like I'm talking to my friends about like after my girlfriend broke up with me, and I'm like trying to describe why I'm doing okay when they are all looking at me like they know that you're not okay. That's kind of how I feel. I'm really excited for this book. I'm really excited. How about you, Freddy? Have you read any of it yet?
I have not. I just opened it not too long ago, and there's a lot of really nice art in here. Thrawn would love this book.
Yeah, man. Think about the fact that art was published in a magazine, so it's a little bit lower quality paper. It's been through the mail Sometimes look at Plagueis with his big long head, his massive nose, ready to snort some galactic power. Man, that is awesome. And now it's being collected in this hardback format. That art can really shine. I feel like this is a really great way to elevate that art. Get it in front of more eyes. What a weird conglomeration of stories. We're going to cover it a month after it arrives in my mailbox. We will cover it here on the show. So it'll be hopefully 4 or 5 weeks from now. We'll get to it. We'll do hopefully the first real roundtable discussion podcast on this book. And hey, Insider, Titan, if you're listening, you want to give us Volume 2 early. We could be ready for that the day of release review podcast. All right. And we'll see if they're listening. How about you, Cheryl? You got anything new to show off on the show?
I do. I also hit up the thrift books. And
Oh, that sounds heavy.
She
adding
grunted.
to my hardcover collection.
Hey, nice.
They're a little banged up, but they'll do for like $6 each.
Cool. Yeah,
that's not
definitely.
bad.
She's got Thrawn. We always have to talk about which Thrawn book are we talking about. We're talking about the first canon Thrawn book from, what was that, 2017, 2018? Then we got Thrawn Alliances, which is maybe my favorite canon cover. Not my favorite canon book, though.
I like the one with him and Anakin, but they had like a special edition one, I think.
Yeah. That one's great. Yeah, that was sucker is expensive. It's hard to find these days. And then Thrawn Treason. Yeah. Excellent. Cool. Yeah, those hardbacks look really good together. And then this one is kind of a holy grail.
Nice.
The Last Jedi. What's fun, Cheryl, is I just finished yesterday the Legends Last Jedi 2 days ago. And then here you are with the canon Last Jedi. So now we just need one more that's neither canon nor Legends, and we'll have a trilogy of Last Jedis. How about you, Meg? Any new acquisitions?
Yeah. First of all, sorry to rub this in again, but I got this.
Come on!
I'm sorry. And then,
I started sweating. I just broke out into a sweat when I saw
I'm
that.
so sorry. I have one more
Angsty
thing.
sweat.
Oh my god, it's heavy.
That was good.
I got my first order Stormtrooper helmet today.
Oh, nice.
I did. I pre-ordered it a long time ago, so this is not technically part of the many purchases that I made this week, but it did happen to come this week. So there's that.
That's good timing.
Yeah.
Your what
Sorry.
Stormtrooper?
What?
What Stormtrooper did you get?
The first order one. They just released it.
Is it a Funko?
No, it's like a full size helmet.
Full size.
Is it like Hasbro or?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, like the new Black Series one.
That's
Did you
nice.
hold it up? Did I see it? Did I just not look at it?
Squirrel.
Here.
Yeah, there it is. You didn't hold that up here, did you?
Yes, she did.
Oh.
It's
Where was
really
I?
heavy and now I'm sweating.
There you go. Just helping Meg get her exercise. I follow her on Strava. I know she didn't get in a run today, so.
Wow.
I'm
You're
just-
just gonna,
Sorry,
you're just
no.
gonna comment. Oh my god.
All right, no, here's what happened, Meg,
All
is
right.
I was moving my window on my computer so I could see your beautiful faces on my other monitor. And so people wouldn't have to look at my long nose from looking over this direction the whole time. What a fun show we are going to have here on Legends Look Back. And I am glad that you are here with us. After Thracken's Thrift Store, we have our next newly renamed segment, Legends Lookout. And we are going to talk about, Freddy, one of the most bizarre Legends phenomenons that has ever happened. This was one of these things that, I even had to tell my wife about. And our policy is, she does not want to hear about Star Wars for any reason whatsoever. But I was like, I can't hold it in. I got to talk about this. All right, Freddy, do you remember us talking about this bad boy? If I can get it, here we go. Heart of the Jedi.
Of course.
We did a roundtable on this, right?
Yeah.
The Cheryl, tell folks what this is.
That's the book that was never published. But
That's right.
Went very far along in the pipeline and never quite made it. I think was it just before the Disney acquisition?
No, this was old school. This was
this is
92. This was
back-
written in 92.
Okay.
Yeah,
well,
back
I-
during
I,
True Sepultura.
I was listening, but I wasn't listening.
No, it's fine. It's fine. This book, Freddie, all right, we did the first ever podcast roundtable review of this book on the internet. But over the last week, this book has become the #1 topic of discussion among Legends fans. It has taken on a life of its own, unlike anything I have ever seen. Have you seen some of the internet buzz around this thing?
I have. I saw where it was on the sci-fi list, and I had to go back and search, and I was like, wait, is this the one that shouldn't exist?
Yeah.
And I'm so glad that you have it on this Legends Lookout, because I looked at it and I was like, there's no way. I got to talk to Jared about this.
This is an absolute anathema of the Star Wars publishing universe, and like there's definitely a Death Star coming up on the horizon, ready to blow this sucker up, like Alderaan. If's in the chat for Alderaan and for this book, because the mouse is gonna blow this sucker up any second. Any second. It's a loophole. It's a gray area, like a gray Jedi is what this book is. It exists in that nebulous space of, is it okay to do this or is it not? The author, Kenneth C. Flint, in partnership with StarWarsTimelines.net or something like that, did a little over a year ago a partnership releasing this book to the public for free as a PDF for the Legends fandom to just take a peek at. It's not about making money. We talked about the impact this made on this author's career and the real world ramifications of that on our episode a few episodes ago with Trevor, The Lost Legends of Legends. And they released this for the public. I printed it, not for the purpose of anybody else getting their hands on it or making any money, as much as I had a concussion and needed to read it on paper instead of on digital screens. I just needed to consume it. Somebody else had the idea, and they were like, instead of just printing it just for the sake of reading it, I'm going to print it and make it available for the masses. And so somebody made their Amazon listing available for just this Amazon self-publish it, nonprofit. Nobody's making money off this. It's just about people getting their hands on it, putting it on their shelves, celebrating the weird place that this has in Legends history. They did a really good job at getting the spine right. I didn't care. I did care. I tried and failed. Somebody else did a better job, and they got it just the right size, and mine's in the mail. Now, Freddy, you mentioned this being on the charts. Tell people just how crazy this is. Where did it rank on Amazon?
You know, when you go to like an Olympics event, there are 3 positions on that podium, and on that podium is Heart of the Jedi at number 3.
That's right. It made the podium of specifically this very niche. Okay, if you just Google Amazon sci-fi bestseller list, you're going to find a dozen different bestseller lists, because there's like hard sci-fi and hard sci with a female protagonist. And I don't know if there's that one, but this one is specifically the sci-fi adventures list. Science fiction adventures. If you leave adventures off, it's not on the list. But it's on the podium, Freddy. It's on the podium. Now, here's what's crazy. This is number 3 on Amazon's as of a couple days ago. Today, it's dropped to number 9. I think there was a lot of frenzy. It built up. It's going to go back downhill. People are going to get their hands on it. Slash the mouse is going to blow it up. It was ranked ahead of Greater Good. It was ranked. Greater Good was as of Tuesday, I don't know, earlier this week, it was at number 6. Heart of the Jedi was at number 3. And that is, that's crazy. There's no other word for that, but it is bizarre as the book itself. Don't you think, Freddy? This whole phenomenon?
It is. It's bizarre for many reasons. One, it never got published. So how the heck did it beat Greater Good when Greater Good had all the publishing behind it, right? That mega corporation money.
And
Yet
the name, Timothy Zahn. It's got Tim Zahn on it.
Exactly. So that just shows you that, George Lucas's whole vision of Star Wars with a young farm boy beating the odds.
That's right. This is
exists.
a real underdog story. It's so cool. It shows that the Legends fandom is crazy. We're crazy, y'all. We'll buy this thing. We want the weirdest, most obscure things. And in case you can't tell, I'm really excited about this. Because, Freddy, we were like right ahead of the curve on this, don't you think?
We could almost say that we are the reason.
All right. Now, here's the thing. I want to take credit, but nobody's giving us credit. So I don't want to just be here standing over on the sidelines like, hey guys, notice me. Instead, I just want to say, like, this is just fun. This is just fun.
Yeah.
And the saddest thing is, Kenneth C. Flint isn't seeing any of the money from the fact that this has charted above Greater Good on this one specific list. Of course, Greater Good is on so many other lists, New York Times bestsellers and Amazon combined print, and ebook, and audiobook. It's on all the lists. This is on one very specific niche list. But I'd like to see Kenneth C. Flint profit from this, not from the book, because that's illegal at this point. I'd like to see him get the credit he deserves. I just want to see him prosper. I want to see him. Maybe we'll get him on the show. Who knows? Mr. Flint, if you're listening, congratulations. We love your book. This was fun. We're enjoying it. And what a weird phenomenon this is. What else is worthy of notice? Everything feels minuscule compared to that one, doesn't it, Freddy? What else we have for Legends Lookout?
Yeah, let's see. We've got Boss Funko Pop announced. It's a GameStop exclusive. So, Bosk, I'm assuming it's Bosk, right?
No, Boss from.
I don't collect Funko, so you gotta help me out here.
Meg, which
Besides that
Funko
one.
is this? Tell Freddy what Funko we're talking about.
It is. Oh,
It's the Republic Commando figure. It was announced on May 4th. Meg was very busy on May 4th buying Bo-Katans.
I bought so many Funkos. It's fine. But I also bought this one, so there you go.
Yes. The Boss Funko. It's a Legends Funko, right? He's in the Republic Commando novels. He's in Republic Commando, the game that I bought, but it's not going to come in for like another 6 months, 7 months. I've got other stuff to play in the meantime, but I'm going to be excited about it when it gets here, and it's going to go on display.
Does he have a red paint on his... Okay.
And then
I
like
know
the
who
blue
you're talking about.
T-visor. It's a beautiful Funko, absolutely gorgeous. Yeah. And then finally, we've got one Marvel Epic Collection that is coming out soon. This one's been getting delayed for me on Amazon in my cart. Don't know what's happening there. But the Marvel Legends Epic Collection Old Republic Volume 4, which collects a lot of the comics. These have such crazy names. A lot of the comics from the Old Republic series that tie into the Star Wars Old Republic video game. Not to be confused with the other Old Republic comics that have nothing to do with the video game. This one is coming out on June 8th. And after it's been out for a month, we're going to review it right here on the show. I've never actually read all of these. I've read a few assorted bits and pieces. I remember absolutely nothing from these. So it's going to be like reading it for the first time, and I'm excited. I've been trying to play through the Old Republic for like 2 years. Maybe I'll get it done in time just because of this. We'll see. Hey, you know what we are going to do? We're going to talk about this wonderful book. And is it in my top 10 Legends books? You can find out in just a minute. We're talking about Outbound Flight. Of course, this is a big year for Timothy Zahn. It's a big year for Thrawn, isn't it? This is the 30th anniversary since readers were introduced to Big Bluey himself, Grand Admiral Thrawn, in Timothy Zahn's seminal breakout novel and the number one New York Times bestseller, Heir to the Empire. Not to be confused with Heir to the Jedi, which is one of Meg's personal faves, or Heart of the Jedi, which is one of everybody's personal faves right now. Heir to the Empire. There's a lot of HTT somethings in Star Wars, I've noticed. You got Heir to the Empire, Heir to the Jedi, Heir to the Heart of the... Oh my goodness. It's been 30 years since we met Thrawn. Not only did it kickstart the expanded universe as we know it, it introduced one of the most enduring characters to ever capture the hearts and imaginations of Star Wars fans, young and old. Since then, Thrawn has gone on to make the move into canon content with his appearances in Star Wars Rebels, a name drop in The Mandalorian Season 2. He's now midway through his second canon trilogy of novels with Thrawn Ascendancy Greater Good, having just been released on April 27th. So today we're going to talk about his first big step into the larger world, his first prequel novel, Outbound Flight, and goodness did I love this book. Man, I cannot believe how much I loved it on the reread. Didn't care for it much on the first time around. We'll talk more about that in a second. Cheryl, to start us off, tell us when this book was first released. When did folks first get their hands on this sucker?
I don't have that part of the show now.
Oh, you don't have that part. Okay, well, take a guess. When do you think it was released? Take a gamble. Roll the dice.
It was released in 2006, I think.
Yes.
Bing, bing, bing.
Correct.
That's right. Correct. Good job. Yeah. See, you didn't even have to reveal your hand. You could have just been like Thrawn and say, perhaps it was 2006. All right. Perhaps it's been definitely a hot word for Thrawn lately. Of course, when this came out in 2006, this was early in the timeline. This was 27 before the Battle of Yavin. It's 5 years after the Battle of Naboo, which places it, 5 years before Attack of the Clones. This is a young upstart Thrawn. He's got some victories under his belt, but it's definitely still so far from where we meet him in after Return of the Jedi, not just after Attack of the Clones. After Return of the Jedi in the Thrawn trilogy, we're going way back with this bad boy. Interestingly enough, Freddy, the paperback includes a short story. Boy, I almost wanted to say that in a British accent because I'm thinking about our buddy Trevor across the pond. I say the words short story. Mist Encounter. You ever read Mist Encounter, Freddy?
Yeah, actually, I was reading it just before the show. I didn't get to finish
cool.
all of it, but it's one of those short stories that I've asked a lot of people. I was like, "Have you read Mist Encounter?" I feel like it gets passed up pretty often.
Now, from what I remember about it, and it's been a long time, I think it actually is incorporated into the Thrawn canon novel that Cheryl's showing off for us there. Is that right, Cheryl?
It is basically verbatim
pretty cool.
how we meet Thrawn in this novel, except for the exclusion of Eli Vanto, because in Outbound Flight, Cardass kind of takes the role
Yeah.
of Eli Vanto.
Yeah,
Do you mean Eli Vanto?
Eli
The
Vanto.
way he's pronounced in the audiobook. He's got
Oh,
this
I don't
southern
listen
accent.
to the audiobooks, so I don't.
Hi, everybody. I'm Eli Vanto.
I know. I need to read the Eli Vanto Thrawn books. I need to read them with my eyes
yeah.
instead of listening to the audiobooks, because that, as a southerner, the Eli Vanto's southern accent really takes me out of it. All I'm doing is I'm hearing the Lars Mikkelsen Thrawn voice, and I'm not hearing
Oh,
anything
man.
Thrawn's saying. And then I'm hearing the southern accent, I'm not hearing anything that Vanto's saying. So I need to actually sit down and read those books one of these days. But it's crazy that Zahn, what other author could get away with that? Just copy pasting their Legends
It's so
short
true.
story
I mean, it was
into a
so
canon
good.
book.
How could you not? You're just like, this is great. I'm just going to reuse that. He borrows a lot from his Legends
Yeah, he
stuff.
does. We'll talk more about that.
does.
I'll have to read that. All right, this weekend, follow along on the Legends Lookback Discord channel. I'm going to read it this weekend. We'll see. Yeah, did Rail Everos just enter the show? Eric says. That's right. Rail Everos sounds a whole lot like Eli Vanto. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, looking forward to reading this. Now, this book also ties in, interestingly enough, with another Timothy Zahn book. Cheryl, tell the folks about Survivor's Quest.
Yeah. Survivor's Quest is a prequel to Outbound Flight, sort of? No.
It's both a
don't
prequel
know.
and a sequel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when did Survivor's Quest get published?
Yeah, I think it was published first. Let me see. Oh, it's got maps. It's got art. That's gorgeous. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Look at
Yeah.
that. That's so cool.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I feel like Thrawn. You think Thrawn does that every time he opens up a book and finds art in it? Oh, guys, look, there's art in there. 2004. Yeah, so beat it by 2 years.
Oh, okay. So yeah, which makes sense because
It's a very Star Wars thing to do, isn't it?
it's them trying to figure out what happened to Outbound Flight.
Yes. Right, after the fact, decades after the fact. So it's Luke. It's Luke. I said Mook. Luke and Mara's honeymoon adventure. All right, they're
Is that like
newlyweds.
is that like the Raylo of the original trilogy? Mook.
Yeah, it's their celebrity couple name, Luke and Mara. Oh my, or Laura, like my aunt down in Arkansas. All right, they of course wrote this book in 2004, telling about Luke and Mara going and discovering what had happened to Outbound Flight, and then Timothy Zahn, a couple years later, gets his chance to tell what happened to Outbound Flight in the prequel era. So, very interesting relationship. We'll talk more about that in our next episode. The basic idea is that in 22 years after the Battle of Yavin, so 50 years after this, Chiss explorers discover the remains of Outbound Flight, and newlyweds Luke and Mara team up with the Chiss, the Imperial Remnant, as well to investigate. So you've got these like three different parties, and it's kind of this love triangle of politics and standoffs and a lot of posturing. And then the one thing I remember one thing and one thing only from this book is Luke faces off against destroyer droids, like droidicas. And I remember at Legends fans back in the day, we were like, "Whoa, Luke is fighting against droidicas!" And it was really cool at the time, really awesome. I mean, when else does that happen other than when you're playing with your Legos, right? It's, you just recently reread this, didn't you, Cheryl?
Yeah, I had never read it before, and I was going to read Outbound Flight, and shout out to Mike and Joey told me, no, if you haven't read Survivor's Quest yet, read Survivor's Quest first, and then read Outbound Flight.
I'm going to do the opposite. I'm going to read Survivor's Quest next. Now, I've read them both before, but I don't know that you have to read it first, and we'll talk more about that, which one you think is necessary to read first. So, but that's in terms of the behind-the-scenes, the trivia leading up to us covering Outbound Flight. There you go. That's about all we've got to say on this. Anything else we've missed in terms of like the little nuggets? You got any nuggets for us, Freddy, on Outbound Flight?
Honestly, not at the moment. I'll just say one thing. I slept on this book for way too long, and I'm excited that I got to read it again.
Yeah, man, me too. And I will talk about my history with this in a minute. Spoiler alert: it gets emotional. All right, it's a deep, it's a heart-wrenching story. I'm starting to sweat just thinking about it. So, without further ado, let's talk about Outbound Flight. This is going to be spoiler-heavy territory, folks. If you've not yet read this, many Legends fans, and I think myself included, would consider this one of the greats, one of the best. I'm going to go ahead and make my prediction now that this is going to be included in the Legends Essential collections that they're doing from Del Rey, these repackaging, reformat, reprinting. I'm thinking Outbound Flight's going to make the cut. What do you think?
I think so.
I
think
mean,
so.
There's a lot of fervor around Thrawn right now. It's hard for me to imagine that they wouldn't reprint this book, and I couldn't be more excited for it if it happens. We don't know. No leaks here. We don't know. We don't get leaks. All right, come on. We don't get leaks. But if anybody wants to give us some, we'll take them. All right, so without further ado, Outbound Flight, a smuggler ship, the Bargain Hunter, crewed by George Cardass and his crewmates, blast off into the unknown regions while on the run from Praga the Hutt. That's right, Praga the Hutt. They're saved from their pursuers by none other than the mysterious alien in command of a small fleet of ships, Commander Mithranuodo. Thrawn begins to take Cardass under his wing in order to learn about the state of the broader galaxy outside just space. Meanwhile, another mission is preparing to launch into the unknown regions, Project Outbound Flight. Under the control of the arrogant, and probably wearing a shirt this time, Jedi Master Jorah Sabayoth is set to launch beyond known space in order to settle new planets in the name of the Republic, because colonialism, y'all. Support for the project dwindles, so there's a number of cost-efficient compromises in place. 6 Dreadnought-class heavy cruisers are bound. I kind of picture them strapped with like a big roll of duct tape, right? They're bound around a central storage core full of supplies for their expansive journey. For example, that's one of the budget cuts. Sabayoth fights for the importance of the project, but is opposed by shadowy forces. One such shadowy force is Darth Sidious. Ever heard of him? Who, under the guise of Chancellor Palpatine, dispatches Kinman Doriana to Sabayoth. Oh my goodness! Try saying this 5 times fast. To sabotage Sabayoth. That looks easier on the page than it is for my tongue to say. Everybody try saying that 5 times fast. Sabotage Sabayoth. That was a mistake for sure. Meg, why don't you edit this? Edit my show notes.
I'm not touching your show notes.
Save me from myself.
No. Good luck with that.
He commands a Trade Federation battle fleet, strikes an alliance with Thrawn. After Thrawn shows them who's boss, their ultimate goal is to prolong an invasion by the far outsiders, whoever they are, and also to eliminate Sabayoth and his Outbound Flight Jedi so that they won't mess up his Order 66 plan, because it's so close. Don't mess this up. When Thrawn's flotilla is attacked by Vagari pirates, Thrawn is badly injured and is saved by Cardass. Cardass hatches a plan to save Thrawn and escapes. Little does he know, however, that Thrawn lets him escape so that he will leak info about the Trade Federation droid technology to the Vagari. Thrawn, ever the good bro, secretly planted a crate of droidicas on Cardass's ship and the Vagari because they think they're dope. And so do I. I mean, they're awesome. When Outbound Flight finally shows up late to the space party, Thrawn warns them that they're in for a bad time, even telling Sabayoth word for word of Sidious's grand plans. But Sabayoth is as Sabayoth does, y'all. He force chokes Thrawn, but Doriana triggers the Trade Federation droids to kill Sabayoth in the nick of time. Thrawn defeats the Vagari. Cardass escapes. Thrawn gets in trouble for preemptively striking, which is a big no, Thrawn, we've told you 100 times. Thrawn's brother Thras pilots Outbound Flight to its seemingly fiery demise in such a way that protects the survivors from taking the brunt of the crash, but F's in the chat for Thras, R.I.P. Thras. So, Cheryl, as our honored guest tonight, on a scale of 1 to 10, how do you rank Outbound Flight?
I really, really enjoyed it. So I hand out 10s quite easily. So 10.
There we go. All right, perfect 10. It's all downhill from here. That's great. I want to say shout out to our friends in the chat. Spiced says this was his first Star Wars book, so he'll always hold a special place in his heart. That's awesome, Jacob. Thanks for sharing that. That's so cool. So cool. How about you? No. I want to ask Meg. I'm gonna give you a little heads up here. I'm gonna ask you. I know you've read this. You didn't reread it for this show, but like, do you like it in general? Do you have like a rating off the top of your head?
I'd give it like an 8. Like,
Yeah.
before like this current Thrawn trilogy, I was just not a Thrawn fan. Like, there's the books are great, but just like not my favorite character, not my favorite story. So like at the time, I think I would have given it like an 8, maybe like a little bit lower. But like, I'm actually really curious if my rating would be different if I went back and read it now. I think it would be.
It was for me.
Yeah.
I'll tell you about mine in just a second. But first, Freddy.
I slept on this book for a long time, honestly. It seems like I read it maybe 6 years after it was published. I just didn't have any investment in it for some reason. I can't tell you why. Maybe it was the art on the cover, but I didn't quite like it enough. I don't know.
What? Just
it's really
spaceships?
weird. I mean,
Nothing
it's
gets me
cool,
going like
but-
spaceships, Freddy. I gotta tell you.
But I don't know what it was, honestly, about the book that just didn't trigger me to read it. So I read it probably like in 2012, and I remember putting this book down. I was like, holy cow, that was good. That was way better than I had expected.
Yeah.
And so I read it again for the podcast, and I had the same exact reaction. I was like, this is a legitimately good book. I'm not even going to rate it high just because of like nostalgia for a Legends book, but because it's legitimately a very good book to read, and it just flows and you don't want to put it down.
Yeah,
So,
it really does.
with-
It's breezy.
Yeah.
It's not as dense as some of the more recent Thrawn books, in my opinion. Just
Yes.
because like you get some Anakin and Obi-Wan in there, you just want some pulpy Star Wars. Throw in some Anakin and Obi-Wan. It just brightens up the place. Unless,
Yeah.
of course, you're a child and it's it's Flame Night. It's Order 66, in which case let's just not talk about that. I'm gonna. So did you give a number? What'd you say for a numerical rating?
Yeah, this is a good one. I'm gonna give this easily like a 9.5.
Oh,
I want to
okay,
give it a
wow.
9.9.
Here I
but-
was like about to rave on it, and I'm gonna give it lower than both of you, but higher than Meg. I think for me, it's like an 8.5. Could be close to a 9. Could be close to a 9. The important thing is it is probably right about at the seam of my top 10 Legends books at this point. I first read this book. I was reading it 5 years ago when my mother died. This was the book I was in the middle of when she just tragically, she was 50. It was very horrific and unexpected, and my whole life changed and was turned on its head. And so all my pictures from this time period, I've got like these huge bags under my eyes because I'm so sad and exhausted, and like Outbound Flight in my hands because I'm like, must read Star Wars to comfort myself. So I associated it with trauma. I picked it up and was like, ooh, I don't feel good about this. And then started reading it and was like, oh, like I was totally eclipsed by my grief and couldn't concentrate on this book. And this time around, absolutely dug it. Just totally fired on all cylinders. Maybe it's because I've read all these new Thrawn books. You got this whole new canon trilogy, and now we're in the middle of the Ascendancy trilogy. I had just reread Chaos Rising before picking this up. Man, does this synergize well with the Ascendancy trilogy. Really well. Really well. I mean, I think we can go ahead and call this the Ascendancy quadrilogy and call this the prequel to the prequels of the prequel to the original sequels. Yeah. What do you think? Yeah, that'll go great on its business card. You can put that on the back of the book. When you do the Legends Epic reprint, put that right. Jared May's Legends Lookback, it fits into the prequel to the prequel of the prequel to the original sequels. That's right. Perfect. Well, we're going to talk about some of these wonderful characters who were first introduced in this book, a couple of whom have even gone on to have a longer life in canon media. So excited about that. Let's start off with George Cardos. Cardos, of course, is first introduced in the Hand of Thrawn duology. Hand of Thrawn duology is like this kind of the MacGuffin that Luke has to go find and meet and get the secrets from, and a mysterious character, crime lord, friend of Thrawn. What a weird... But this is... Here he kind of plays that Eli Vanto role in some ways. Cheryl, start us off. What do you think Thrawn saw in Cardos? Why does he take Cardos under his wing? They've got an interesting little strange relationship, don't they?
Yeah, I think Thrawn sees honesty and curiosity in Cardos. Thrawn's ultimate goal is to learn all he can from Cardass, and I think he sees qualities in him that he values.
Okay.
Because like Cardass observes and evaluates the situations he's in. He knows when to talk and when not to. He knows what to say and what not to say, which would all be like qualities that a strategic person like Thrawn would appreciate.
I wish I could figure that one out. I only know what not. I only know what not to say, and that's what I say.
And like Thrawn needed information, and I guess he figured out of the 3 available, Cardass was probably his best bet. And I think he chose who he best figured could be someone he could trust.
Yeah.
And yeah, like you said, it's basically Eli Vanto in.
Yeah, without the accent. The audiobook, the abridged audiobook. Now, I could rant all day about Legends audiobooks. This is one of the Legends audiobooks that's lengthier. So it's like over 6 hours as opposed to the only 3 hours. In other words, it fits onto 2 cassette tapes instead of 1. No, this was released on CD. Jonathan Davis, my favorite audiobook narrator, did this one. And so there's no Southern accents. There is, however, he pronounces the name Arl. Any word with an apostrophe, he like stops and says Alani. And that totally took me out of it. But Card... Das,
I don't
in
listen
other
to
words.
audiobooks, so
Just flat out,
however
don't
I
do
hear
it.
it in my head.
Yeah, straight up. I read books as books, old fashioned in that way. I appreciate that about you, Cheryl. We love our retro technology here on Legends Lookback, don't we, Freddy? We're all about our Walkmans and Tamagotchis.
And laser discs.
That's right. That's right. I love that answer though, that he saw honesty and curiosity. Man, all right, I can't start with Cheryl anymore on any of these questions because her answers are so good that whatever we have to say next, Freddy, sounds really dumb, doesn't it? Would you do the honors in saying the dumb thing next? What do you think that Thrawn saw in Cardass?
He's so cool. There's 2 words that describe Cardass, or Cardass, however you want to pronounce it, right?
For Davis.
Cardass. It's the fact that he has a sense of situational awareness that a lot of others do not have, right? If it's being taken onto something, he's looking at the walls, just getting a sense of where he's at, and that situational awareness, you can tell right at the very beginning. Thrawn has an interest in that, and I think he realizes that Cardass is not your normal person, right? I just feel like the world that Thrawn exists in. A normal person is still a normal person, right? They've got like the families, the hierarchy of the families, and then there's the commoners. And I feel like he saw something that even if it didn't matter if George was a human or any other any other alien, but the fact that he had that curiosity and he had that sense of why do we have the transparency, right? That's the word I was looking for. The transparency and the situational awareness. Yeah. Was a trait that I think Thrawn saw as a weakness, but also a tool, right? It's hard to say how he sees it, and that's what I think, right? He's intelligent, but he's also he can manipulate him in a certain way because he knows what Cardass is thinking.
Yeah, so. Yeah. You start to question: are they friends, or is Thrawn? Yeah, is Thrawn just using him? And that's one of the things I love about reading Thrawn books is you never know exactly where people sit with him in his life. Are they friends, as we define friends, or does he have some other kind of view of friendship and loyalty and usefulness? I like that you said, is he a tool? 'Cause that comes up in Ascendancy in what's the first book called? Man, these books, so many names. Chaos Rising. Thank you, Cheryl. Thrawn says, I see people as tools, right? So that is very true. Assets, that's right. There we go. Assets, definitely. Now, my answer kind of ties into Freddy's. I think that what Thrawn saw, and this gets complicated, so hang with me. I think what Thrawn saw in Cardass is that Cardass saw Thrawn differently than everybody else. So he noticed that Cardass could discern that Thrawn is not like your normal, that there's more to meets the eye with Thrawn. And this is one of the commonalities in some of the more recent canon Thrawn books as well. there's people who look at Thrawn and they just see him as a threat, and they just see him as different. They just see him as too unorthodox, too unusual, too single-minded. Whereas Cardass sees that he's not all bad, and there's so much brilliance to him that he's fascinated by Thrawn. And I don't know that he trusts Thrawn, but he does definitely allow a sense of vulnerability with Thrawn that is really, really compelling in this book. I love the way their relationship works. It's so cool. It's so cool. It's so interesting. I wish that there were more books that explored the relationship between Thrawn and Cardass. This is the only one. So other than like you get old, grizzled, chiseled Cardass. I don't know if he's chiseled. Who is Sabayoth, but he is like, in exile, and then Luke finds him in the Hand of Thrawn duology. And so you do get a little bit more Cardass there, but Thrawn's not around anymore. No. With Cardass, though, I do want to ask, why is it helpful for us to have a reader surrogate character to help observe Thrawn? So Cardass is kidnapped. He doesn't know about the Chiss. He doesn't know who these blue-skinned, red-eyed aliens are. I mean, we've been looking at Thrawn for 30 years, but I got to say, if I was kidnapped by a blue-skinned, red-eyed alien, I'd like to think I look beyond the color of people's skins, but as soon as I look into the color of their red eyes, I'd better be probably a little bit intimidated. So it's not the skin color, it's the eye color. All right, there's my excuse for my speciesism, xenophobia there. But Cardass really does serve as that character who's kind of like us, right? He's like your roguish, nice, pure-hearted character who's like, he's who we all want to be in Star Wars. He's a good guy, but he's cool. He's like a wannabe Han Solo in the prequel era, to a certain extent, working the smuggler crew for Praga the Hutt, but clearly is better than his other smuggler friends. He is absolutely that reader surrogate character that we get in so many pieces of media. Freddy, did you ever watch like the old school 90s X-Men show?
Yes, I did.
There's Jubilee is this character in the 90s X-Men show. So the first episode is like her first day at school at the Xavier Institute, and so it's like she's noticing and witnessing all these mutants for the first time, and so are we. It's our first introduction to these characters. X-Men always has that. Almost always has one character that's like new to the school. Nobody else knows them. They're getting to know the characters, and so are we. It's a trope for sure. But Freddy, why is it helpful to have a character like this specifically around Thrawn?
There's a couple of reasons. One, I actually think that he acts as a neutral party for us, right? He knows enough about the Republic, but he is also a privateer. He's a smuggler, and he is in that gray zone. He's not really a part of the Republic, right? If the Republic fell apart, he'd still be around. He'd still be doing business. He's not quite part of the Trade Federation. It looks like he's just trying to get along in life, trying to find something to do. And in most cases, it almost seems like he just ends up at the wrong place, right? With the bounty hunter, or what's the name of the bounty hunt? Is that the name of the ship?
What? Oh yeah.
Bargain Hunter. Sorry, Bargain Hunter. Yeah, so he
Once
just gets on the ship.
Once you say the wrong name that's a little bit close, I'll never remember the right one.
Yeah. So he is that neutral party that we can kind of funnel ourselves into, and for me especially, I would do exactly what he's doing. I'm not going to lie to Thrawn. I'm not going to disrespect him. I'm just going to tell him exactly what he needs to know, because I feel like by me doing that, he's going to pay you back in some way. He's never going to just take from you, right? And that's the thing that I think Cardass realizes in Thrawn, is that if he does give him this information, he does risk his life, he does do these certain things, that Thrawn will make sure in the end that he's taken care of in the best way that he can.
Yeah, I like that a lot. How about you, Cheryl?
I think it's helpful to have a surrogate to help us observe Thrawn. This is almost always the way Zond writes Thrawn. That way the reader, the reader never knows what's really going to happen. But it also, I think, helps keep the enigma of Thrawn. And that's part of the joy. We're never a step ahead of him. We're just along for the journey alongside him, watching him in wonderment and awe. And I believe Timothy Zahn has only ever written from Thrawn's point of view in the canon Thrawn
Yeah, right.
book. And he said that it was challenging and that he prefers to write it from the observer's point of view, and it helps keep that alien element about Thrawn. He kind of equated it to how when we observe Sherlock, it's almost always through Watson's eyes. And
Yeah, right.
he didn't actually like the stories that were told through Sherlock's eyes. Timothy Zahn being.
Yeah.
So
I can totally see that. That's actually been one of my criticisms with the more recent canon books is it feels like we get a little bit too close to Thrawn. I want him to be a little bit more foreign, a little bit more alien. Now, that's interesting, though, that you say he only wrote him that way in the original canon Thrawn book.
we only see him through Thrawn's point of view.
Yeah.
I think only in that book. Every other time it's through.
No, I think you're right.
Observation of him.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
you're
and I
right.
think that's also a really good idea for people like Thrawn and Sherlock, because technically, even us, right, us layman's persons should not have any idea how those brains are working, right? We should just be completely struck, because by the time we're at step 2, they're already at step 29, figuring the problem out and creating that solution.
Yeah, there comes a point when I'm reading Thrawn where I just settle into the fact that he knows more than me. There comes a point where I just finally give up
You have
on
to accept
trying
it.
to figure him out, and I'm just like, let me know, bro. Please talk down to me. Please condescend toward this random character, and I'll just take the beating.
He doesn't condescend.
You don't think he's condescending?
No, never. No, I don't think Thrawn's condescending.
Oh.
I think
He's respectful.
I think he wants people to be as curious as he is.
Okay.
And when
Yes.
they're not, that bothers him.
I can see that.
But when he is like, say that they're watching a battle and he's on the bridge with the other Chiss,
Yeah.
he's asking his senior captain,
Right.
now, did you notice that movement over there?
But
you
is
notice
that
how
not
they
condescending where
reacted?
he's like,
No,
I
but
know everything and you don't?
He's wanting them to pick up that skill
Yeah.
of observation. He's
Yeah.
saying,
Yeah.
this is how I know that happened. It's because I noticed this little thing. And then when you open up your viewpoint and take in all these different factors into account, you can do this too.
That's good. I will say, Cheryl, that is one of my very favorite things about Legends. His relationship with Pelion and how Pelion goes on to become this absolute juggernaut of the EU after Thrawn is long dead. F's in the chat for Thrawn. In Legends, at least. Hey, he's still out there in canon with those space whales. Of course, he mentors Pelion, and then Pelion does not become a carbon copy of Thrawn. He becomes the best version of himself, which is so good. Man, I love
Yes.
Pelion and later
That's-
Legends. Oh
That's
my
a true
gosh, I can't
leader.
wait to read all those books. Now, I do think he's condescending toward his enemies, especially like when he's about to pull the wool out from under their eyes, blanket out from under their rugs. I got this. Hold on. when he pulls the blanket out from under their eyes. No, one more time.
When he
Pulls
pulls
the blanket
wool
from under their feet.
over their from over their eyes.
It's at the
Pulls the
end.
wool over their eyes.
You know the expression when he makes the big reveal and he's like, "Ta-da! You're stupid." That's what I love about Thrawn when
I
he
view it
outsmarts-
completely differently, but that's okay.
when he
We
outsmarts
can view
the
it in our
villain.
own ways.
when he outsmarts the villains. This isn't in the show notes. We're off the chain at this point. We're off the script. Let's talk more about Thrawn. In chapter 4, there's this amazing quote about Thrawn that comes from, who is it? Who says this? I don't know. I didn't write it down.
Doriana?
Somebody says this.
Doriana?
I perceive. No, it's Dion. So they're talking to Doriana.
Oh,
Who
okay.
is it?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, it's isn't it the battleship Neomodian?
Oh,
It's
yeah,
not
the Nemoidian.
Tev?
Oh, cool. I get to read this whole thing in the Nemoidian voice. Here we go. No, I'm not going to do that. No. I'm not.
Don't do it.
Okay. So here's the quote. And I was out on a run listening to this and stopped, pulled over to the side of the course to mark this in my book. Listening to this, he says, "I perceive that you have come under Thrawn's spell, Master Doriana. But do not be swayed by his learned manner and cultured voice. He is a primitive savage, and no matter what the outcome, in the end, he will have to die." Yo, that's the best quote in the book. All right, I just love that so much. But it also is very telling about, and as soon as I heard that, I thought, oh, I really do think that is what Thrawn does to people. He puts them in this trance where they get fascinated by him, and he can manipulate them because they're so interested in him, or put off guard by him. There's a lot to talk about here. Freddy, what do you think? Is that what Thrawn does to people? Does he put people under a spell? And then, if so, is this intentional, or is there something that he's just doing subconsciously?
Well, that's the thing with Thrawn, right? We don't really truly know what his intentions are. I think the only thing we do know, and this is just from my point of view for Legends, because I've only read one book in canon with Thrawn, which is Thrawn. But
Wait, which
what
book?
I've noticed, Thrawn.
I'm just kidding. All right.
So the thing is, his purpose is to protect his people, the Chiss, and that's his only goal, right? In my opinion, that's his goal, and that's his mission is to do whatever it takes to protect the Chiss. If you happen to be a tool that can help with that goal, he's going to make sure that you're in his tool drawer, right? He's going to make sure you're there whenever he needs to use you as that person. And I think he recognizes people like Kardas and of course others who are intelligent enough to understand even just remotely a little bit of what Thrawn is thinking, so that he can rely on them to do whatever it is that they need to do, even without them even knowing that they have to do it. So
yeah, it's a little bit of both.
It's really difficult to really pin down if he's doing it intentionally or not. I think in general most beings are just attracted to something that is that intensely smart, I guess. I have no idea how else to put it.
Maybe that's why I keep buying these expensive Thrawn action figures. What about you, Cheryl? Do you think this is something that Thrawn does to people? Does he put people under a spell?
He certainly does that to me. Your question, is it intentional or is it something he does subconsciously? I think it's somewhat intentional because Thrawn is very much adept at reading people really well. He watches their body language, he watches what they're observing and what questions they ask and how they react to things.
Okay.
And this helps him understand people's motivations, and it helps him to predict what their next move or actions are going to be, much like how he does with interpreting art. I say somewhat intentional because I don't think Thrawn is wholly manipulative in that he never abuses his talent to rule over others or to be cruel. And there's another passage that shows Maris, who is technically a prisoner of Thrawn's, looking at him with adoring hard eyes, and Kardas is like, she's being, and I quote, drawn in by his intelligence, courtesy, and sophistication. And I was like, same, Maris. Same.
Yeah, it's as soon as I heard this, I thought, like, he does that. He lures you into this. He lulls you into this rhythm with his voice and the fact that he's always one step ahead. And like, hey, everybody loves a well-rounded individual. He's good with war, can blow stuff up. Can also like decorate your living room. Like really good at curating museums. He's good to hang out with on the weekends. But like, if you got an invading fleet knocking down your door, he'll blow them up. He's a very well-rounded man. A Chiss. What do you call a male who's Chiss? Anyway. Now, Cheryl, I see here in the show notes that you've got an Easter egg for us. I've been dying to know since you put this in the notes here.
All caps.
Cheryl, she's very observant, but I gotta say, I'm dying to know what this is.
Okay, so remember when you were excited to have your Legends Lookback shirt, right, that I'm wearing?
There it is. Gorgeous.
And then you realized in one of your episodes that the quote should have been, but it was so artistically done.
Yeah.
Right? And you guys were sad. Well, enter stage left. Outbound Flight.
Doriana, right?
Page 398, paperback.
I caught this one too.
And even Doriana's own attempt to muddy the Chiss waters had apparently been part of that scheme. Had Mithra Naruto Odo, I can't even say that, anticipated Doriana's efforts, or had he simply incorporated them into his own plan as they occurred? Either way, it was artfully done.
That's what's
You did
up.
it right, man. You
There
did it right.
is. All right. It was also artfully done in Greater Good. They use that same quote, and they say artfully instead of artistically in Greater Good. I think it's Greater Good.
But this is a Legends book
That's true.
for your
That's
Legends
true.
Lookback team.
You got it right.
You could look at it a couple of ways. One is like we were avoiding copyright infringement by like slightly adjusting the quote.
Okay, well, I was super excited when I read that. I was like, ah!
My original idea for our t-shirts, Cheryl, was to use that quote, but then to have a picture of Thrawn wearing those shutter shades. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
The sunglasses with the slits in them. And so it's going to
Because,
be
I
like
mean-
this retro. It's just going to be Thrawn with like that deadpan stare he always has, but
Yeah,
then with
and,
those
like, think
shutter
about
shades.
Because, like, Chiss have glowing red eyes,
Right,
right?
right.
So, like, and there's, like, a passage in this book where Cardass wakes up at night and, like, Thrawn is in his room and he can see the glowing red eyes across the room.
So creepy.
And I'm like, his theme song would be I Wear My Sunglasses at Night.
That's right. Absolutely.
So he can, like, sneak up on me.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Of course, we can't legally print shirts with the Star Wars characters, image right there on them. It could just be another blue-skinned, red-eyed guy. There's plenty of them out there in the
Totally.
galaxy. I mean,
Yeah, I'll just Photoshop myself on there. Can't do anything. That's my image.
Blue Freddy. A Star Wars story. One of the things that really stood out to me is I've been reading all these Thrawn books recently. It's a lot of Thrawn happening right now. I'm sure half of our listeners listening to this are in the middle of Greater Good right now as we speak. There's this big shift, especially having just reread the Thrawn trilogy recently. The original Thrawn trilogy, Meg. The original OG Legends Thrawn trilogy. The only trilogy we can rightfully call the Thrawn trilogy. Am I right? It's a debate.
I mean, if you want to die on that hill, it's fine.
Oh, I'm long dead on that hill. Long dead. Corpses.
Right on the top.
Everywhere. That's right. Holding my flag that says, "It me." I do want to say, there's this move that happens, and I'm not sure if it's because Zahn loved Thrawn, and always maybe eventually. Did he always have this vision for Thrawn, or did he come to have this vision for him? Was it always there from the beginning? Is it because fans loved Thrawn? How exactly did we get here to where Thrawn is the protagonist of two canon trilogies 30 years later? He's not nearly as devious in these books as he was in the original Thrawn trilogy. He's dangerous. He's dangerous, but he's not as devious. I mean, in the original Thrawn trilogy, he was it a gunner on his ship who missed an important shot, or a tractor beam tech that he
Yeah.
had just boom shot right there on the bridge. Is that right?
Yeah, it was. He didn't. He felt like he didn't want to learn how to adapt to
Yeah.
a situation that was new to him, and he killed him.
That's right. Yeah, and the Thrawn doesn't kill people in cold blood. I don't think. Beyond that. But hey, even Superman did it. He snapped that sucker's neck in that one movie. So, I mean, it happens to the best of us. All right, we all snap a neck or two. I do want to... Okay, maybe not you guys. That's fine. Does this book, though, start to retcon Thrawn's characterization from villain to anti-hero? Obviously, in my leading question, you can hear that I think the answer is yes. Cheryl and I were going back and forth about this a little bit last night, so I was like, save it for the show. Freddy, let's start with you. Do you think that this is the first significant turning point in Thrawn's character? Or has he always been good at heart all along? Or is he a villain in this book? What do you think, Freddy?
It's interesting. I feel like the Thrawn that we read back in Heir of the Empire is a lot different than what we read here in Outbound Flight. I feel like this is... You could see that in this text, this is what Timothy Zahn is like, this is my character. And I feel like because of that, because he recognized that was his character and that people they did like him, right? I mean, even in 2006, he was a hit. Yeah. I feel like he wanted to make him something that people could actually relate to, and maybe not relate to, but actually like, and make them
root for him.
That character. Before he was very much, he was evil. He was he was scary. He was really scary, and he was. You can listen to those episodes. I talk about how different he is in canon versus what he is in Legends, and he's a different person completely. He's ruthless, and he you at the very end when he gets killed, you're almost kind of glad, right? And in Outbound Flight, if he were to get killed, I would not have the same sentiment at all.
Right. He's ruthless. I've got a hypothesis here that if you started with some of these more recent books, or even Outbound Flight, and then went to the original Thrawn trilogy, you would feel like, yeah, sure, it's the same character. He's changed. It's later in life. He's a little more war-hardened. He's really, really close to being emperor there. So he's like really, really, eager to go ahead and culminate power, and maybe he's got some good purposes in wanting to achieve. Maybe he really does know what's best for the galaxy. I don't know. He's always one step ahead of me. But I think if you start with the original Thrawn trilogy, as many, many, many people have, then you go to these, you feel like there's a little bit of disconnect. So Freddy thinks there's some disconnect. What do you think, Cheryl? Do you agree?
Yeah, I like to think of it as adding more dimensions to a fascinating character rather than a full retcon. But I mean,
Okay.
yeah, you ask yourself what pushed this character to then align himself with the fascist regime and fight so hard against the New Republic. But in this book, also in the Hand of Thrawn duology, we learn it's because he wants to protect the Chiss ascendancy from a greater outside threat. So he chooses to align himself with the group that has the resources he thinks can achieve that. I think it's touched on a little bit, that reasoning is touched on a little bit in the Hand of Thrawn duology.
Okay.
But it makes you wonder why he had it out so bad for our heroes in the Legends trilogy when they just wanted to restore democracy.
Right.
So, but like I personally love that Zahn has leaned into taking Thrawn from villain to anti-hero, and it's deepened my love of the character.
Yeah, I mean, when you read the original Thrawn trilogy, he's interesting. I actually think like the most interesting things that happen with him happen in those books. But I do think he's a more likable character in these other books.
I mean, I liked him.
I love him. I love to root for him in these books. I do, however, think he's most interesting not because of who he is, but because of the people around him. I think Thrawn is made more interesting depending on the characters who are around him. And so, especially in this book, what's fun is we get the introduction of one of the mainstays in Thrawn's journey, and that is somebody who has been especially fleshed out in recent canon media, and that is Admiral Ar'alani. Of course, she's come a long way from her initial introduction in Outbound Flight. What do you think, though? What do you think Zahn had in mind for Ar'alani in her initial introduction? Do you think he could have possibly foreseen how far her character would come in her subsequent appearances? Freddy, I know you're not totally caught up on Ar'alani, but surely you've read the book a little bit. Do you think that Zahn had anything had in mind where she would eventually go? Because she come a long way. Her character is so fleshed out.
I don't think so. It's hard to say because she seems very much just an accessory, right? In Legends. Well, I mean, she only shows up right in Outbound Flight that I know of. In
I'm
that
looking
book
it up.
first.
I'm wondering if she's in anything else in Legends.
Yeah, I can't think of anything, and it just seems like she was there to challenge. To challenge Thrawn at the beginning because she did have more power than him, and it seemed as if she was useful to kind of wedge that. How would I put it? I'm not entirely sure how to put this. It doesn't seem like Zahn really thought about that character. I guess the consequences of what she would become. It just to me it doesn't ring out that way, right? In Outbound Flight, it doesn't. There's nothing that really signifies like, oh, I need to know more about her. That's an interesting question.
You're a little more caught up, Cheryl. What do you think?
I think Zahn was trying to show us what an admiral of the Chiss expansionary defense fleet was like, who didn't have the same level of Thrawn's tactical genius. to show us a very competent Chiss leader and warrior who is more reserved in her conquests, more in alignment with Chiss philosophy. She may agree with Thrawn's analysis of the Vagari threat, but she's less zealous in their pursuit and conquest. I think, to your second point, I think Zahn very much likes to reintroduce characters that he likes.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, why wouldn't he? She's a great character, and I think if he sees the opening that works within the story, he's going to bring them back. And
I
I
can't
think
wait
it's
for
a smart
Sabayoth
move.
to make his way back into canon. It's going to be so epic.
It's a smart move because fans of those characters are thrilled to see them again.
They're going to say, who's that shirtless, chiseled guy over there?
Who's
that Jared?
arrogant bastard over there?
Oh, man, I can't wait to talk about him. Hold on. We got one more person first. That's great. You know, what's cool about Arlani, though, is she eventually seems like she's there to supervise Thrawn, micromanage Thrawn.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, man, Mom just showed up, and she's going to look over my shoulder, and I'm going to get in trouble for doing the stuff. It's like really not all that bad, but, definitely on the border of, like, not what I'm supposed to be doing. But then what's cool about Arlani is you're like, oh, she's a cool mom. You realize, like, she gets it. She finally realizes Thrawn's plan and gets on board with it and is able to adapt and adjust even when other characters in the story haven't. She's typically the first person after Thrawn or Kardas, to see the plan, see where Thrawn is going. And they're always like, oh, Thrawn, you shouldn't have done that. But, like, wink, wink, like, it's okay. Like, I definitely see beyond the surface level. Wonder what the world looks like through their red eyes. Don't you need pupils? Don't pupils do something?
Glasses?
It's a very, very angry world if everything is red all the time. Let's talk about Thrawn's brother Thras, though, before we move on to our shirtless overlord himself, Sabayoth. Thras is, interestingly enough, reintroduced in canon as well, alongside Arlani, except for maybe is not Thrawn's brother? I don't think he's Thrawn's brother in canon. Like, maybe. There's still another book in the Ascendancy trilogy. I don't think he's his brother. I gotta admit, like, I don't totally digest everything that's happened in the Ascendancy trilogy. I've read both of these twice, and I'm still like, I think I know what just happened, but they're dense for me. They're dense for me. I don't know why I should read the actual physical books instead of just the audiobooks. I think that would help. But Cheryl, help us out here. How do Thrawn and Thras differ? They clearly have some similarities, but just because they share blood and share their myth family name, obviously both heroic in their own way, but yet some core fundamental differences. Compare Thrawn and Thras's ideologies for us.
Okay. You asked this specific question, which of them is more heroic?
That's the next question.
What...
So we can go to that. They obviously
So,
Thras sacrifices himself to. He seems like the hardliner, right? He seems like he's more in line with Chiss family doctrine and more played by the rules than Thrawn. But then in the end, you really find that he's got like the soft heart, and he sacrificed himself to crash the ship just in the right way to save the survivors. So then you find out that Thras was a hero all along. So yeah, it does lead to the question of which of them is more heroic.
yeah. I didn't even think about that part. I saw Thras as very symbolic of the Chiss ideology.
Yeah.
And is more of a defense stance, whereas Thrawn is more offense.
Okay.
Like, at the end of the day, their goals are the same, but they just have different opinions of how to achieve that. I would say that Thrawn also is heroic in that, like, just in the case of the Vagari, for instance, here's a conquering species that's plundering and enslaving innocents. With Thras's ideology, the Chiss stand by and do nothing because the Chiss themselves have not been attacked.
Right.
With Thrawn, who sees it as only a matter of not if but when the Vagari eventually attack the Chiss, he's also aiding in the plight of those the Vagari have currently enslaved and torture and kill without just provocation. So there's heroics on both sides there, I think.
Definitely. definitely. I really love Thras as like a foil to Thrawn, getting Thras as Thrawn's brother, where we don't typically get somebody who knows Thrawn that well, and it's fun to have him in this mission. And yet he's not like really introduced. We don't spend a ton of time with Thras. He's kind of there on the periphery. I really love the way that character is used alongside, the way that he comes in alongside Thrawn. It's fun to get like that familial bond with him. There's nothing quite like that in canon either, even though Thras is mentioned in canon. He's in there a little bit. It's not quite the same as he is here in Outbound Flight. Freddy, you want to take a stab at this one? How does Thras demonstrate his heroism in this book?
Mithrasaphas? I forget what his name actually is.
Mithrasaphas.
Thras to me is the political / aristocratical version of what a Chiss I think would be, right? He's thinking about the family. He's thinking about Thrawn, and he does not want Thrawn to be kicked out of the family, and he doesn't want to be that commoner, and he does care about Thrawn, it seems. At least that's the feeling that I got. And because of that, right, he really comes down to more of a, he comes more to like a, how would you say it, like a, I guess I just said it earlier. He's more political, right? And he takes that political arm, and with that political arm comes his. Sorry, I got distracted for a second thinking about rebels in the chat. We'll talk about that in a sec. But in my opinion, that's more important. The family is more important than him than anything else, right? Whereas Thrawn, it's the Chiss in a hole, which is why he wants Outbound Flight out of there. He knows the second that any one family gets a hold of that, it's going to endanger the Chiss as a whole. Whereas Thras is not really concerned on that level. To him, it's more of the family, the family, Thrawn's connection to that family, and that's where I think that comparison comes in.
That's been one of the things.
I also kind of got.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
No, you go ahead.
I just got the feeling that their relationship was somewhat strained.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
Right. It's like their ideologies they're not just like conceptual differences between them. There's clearly a backstory there, that whatever has separated them, whatever has strained the relationship was significant. It's not just like they're brothers that don't understand each other. There's something under the surface there. There's a story.
Like their fundamental, like their ideologies don't, of course, like Thrawn is being Thrawn and Thras is more like Chiss ascendancy. So there's always going to be that tension, and I think that was kind of the underlying current of their relationship.
Yeah, definitely. I'd love to get that backstory. I'd love to get that prequel Legends story of, it's never going to happen, of what exactly did go wrong between them. I'm glad we're getting more of this explored. And in the Canon Thrawn books, you speculate, you read a book, and you go, oh, I feel like there's a story there. What happened to Thrawn's, I don't know, his sister or whatever. And then you do get that story. You do find out. And so trying to be careful here not to spoil things for...
Yeah, no spoilers, please.
No spoilers. All right, one more character before we close out tonight. Next week, we're going to do our overarching questions. Let's talk about the man, the myth. Oh, that's funny. The man, the myth, the legend. How did I just thought of that? Oh, man, that's great. Meg, use that in the tweet for next week.
Thrawn is not a myth. He's a legend.
Right. He's not. He's both that and... Anyway. Sabaoth. This time the real Sabaoth. The real one, all right? Not the clone, not Joruus Sabaoth. We finally get to know the Jedi Master, who the Dark Jedi clone from the later Legends trilogy is based off of in the first place. And guess what? He's just as much of a jerk. How, Freddy, does Sabaoth demonstrate the excesses? He's worse? You think he's worse as a Jedi?
So much worse. Yeah.
How does he demonstrate the excesses and the corruption of the prequel era Jedi? I feel like he's emblematic of like the worst of the Jedi, don't you?
He is. He reminds me of, I feel like that's exactly what Darth Tyrannus was, right? He just saw himself as better than everybody else. I am a Jedi. I am better than everybody else. And the reason why people like Anakin like that is because he treats Anakin with respect, right? But if Anakin were not a Jedi, I don't think it would be the same thing. I mean, every time I read anything from Sabaoth, I just want to punch him in the gut. Every single time. And he just has this, we talk about holier than thou when it comes to Jedi, and if you want to read a character who exemplifies that the most, it is absolutely Sabaoth, right? He just
very holier
thinks
than
that
thou.
exactly. If you have the Force, you're better than anybody else. Otherwise, you're just a commoner.
I'm wondering if he likes that Metallica song.
So in terms of my view on that, he very much is the corruption of the Jedi, the overabundance of confidence, and obviously it leads to his downfall, and it leads to the downfall of every single person. Well, yeah, every single person in Outbound Flight. He is the cause of all of their deaths in the end.
What I like to say to people is there's a difference between confidence and arrogance, and Sabaoth has definitely left confidence in the dust and is absolutely over the line into arrogance. What do you think, Cheryl?
Yeah, he demonstrates the excesses and corruption of the prequel era Jedi. I think the fact that he is a Jedi Master and in and of itself shows the corruption. Like that he's someone who embodies arrogance and indignation at that level should not be able to call themselves a Jedi Master and shouldn't be a member of the Council. He views himself as superior and more than, and has absolutely no hubris whatsoever. He demands and does not ask. There's no room for conversation. When it's at that level, it's no longer about serving others. The fact that someone like that is still permitted in the Order and allowed to represent it shows how far it's fallen.
I mean, is he any worse than Mace Windu?
He's worse.
You
He's
think so?
Much worse.
Yeah, okay.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
He's worse than Legends Mace Windu, for sure. I think that Sabaoth is so good in this because, on the one hand, we as Legends readers are playing off of his clone self. But we're also, in this book, finding Sabaoth paired against Thrawn. So they're not often in the same scene. It's only there at the end of the book. But he is... Clearly, we're going back and forth between Thrawn chapters and Sabaoth chapters. Thrawn and Sabaoth, Thrawn and Sabaoth. And Thrawn, who's a villain with a capital V, is a better person at heart in this book than Sabaoth, who is a Jedi Master, who... is then, of course, pitted against Obi-Wan Kenobi, who's a Jedi, I think just still a knight at this point. He is, hanging out and hanging around, and kind of like our fan, like throw us a bone, help us feel good about things, a little bit of familiarity in this book. Obi-Wan and Anakin, they're along for the ride for most of the book, and you put Obi-Wan up against this guy, and Sabaoth looks horrible. The places where Obi-Wan's like, I don't think this is the right thing to do, man. And Sabaoth's like, go home, get off my ship. It is so well done to have, so artistically done, you could say, to put Sabaoth in this triangle between his clone self, Obi-Wan, and Thrawn in these three very different ways. It works so well for me. So it leads me to this question. Who is you both, I think, already answered this. Who is the bigger villain? Sabaoth, Joruus Sabaoth, or Joruus Sabaoth? The Jedi Master or the Dark Jedi from the Thrawn trilogy? Lead us off, Cheryl.
Oh, yeah, I think they're both pretty on par. Sabaoth in this iteration of his life is immensely arrogant, as we've said. He's dismissive, condescending, impatient. And in a short amount of time, he basically becomes a dictator on Outbound Flight. And it's pretty clear his intention is to willfully rule over all others however he sees fit. I think the difference in this book is that he stops short of actually trying to rewrite someone's mind like he did in The Last Command.
Oh, yeah, there was that.
If he had continued on living, he may have gotten to that point as well. But his acclamation of control through manipulation and intimidation over even other Jedi Masters like Obi-Wan shows just how dangerous he is even when not erratic or unstable like his clone was. So I think this iteration is more dangerous.
Yeah, he doesn't even have an excuse this time around.
That's
Can't blame the
why
cloning take.
I think that's literally why I had the same exact thought, right? That his clone is not the evil. Well, it's not the bigger villain because he has that underlying factor of he's a clone with some fried wires, right? So you expected him to be a little crazy, and there was really no excuse for the real Sabaoth. I think he was just an absolute horrendously he's a horrendous person. Honestly, I like I said, the amount of times I just wanted to throw my book against the wall and punch him in the gut if I had it here. Although I'd probably break my fist with those nice abs. So
No, we don't know what Joris Sabayoth's abs look like.
yeah,
I
mean, if he's
picture
anything,
him having more of
anything
a
like his
dad
clone.
bod. Yeah, I picture him like having that comfortable middle-aged Jedi body, where he's not had to like physically exert himself very often. He tells people what to do, and they're like, I guess he's a Jedi, so we have to do what he says. And
rotund.
He's rotund. We got a great question here in the chat from our friend Star Wars Timeline. He, of course, was very active in the Living Force chat the other day. I love the commentary there about the Genndy Tartakovsky series. Can't wait for us to cover that here on the show. We'll get to it before too long. He asked a great question, which is, do you like Thrawn's portrayal in Rebels? I've got a nuanced answer to this. I want to give you guys a second to think about it. Do you like the way Thrawn is portrayed in Rebels? I'm going to say yes and no. Yes, I like the things they honor about him from Legends. So I think the best things about Thrawn in Rebels are the things that they borrowed from Legends. I love his the way he's able to interpret Sabine's art, for example. And it's cool that you've got a character in Rebels that's her whole thing. She loves to decorate stormtrooper helmets and Mandalorian armor, and she loves spray paint. So one of the main characters is an artist that works really well for Thrawn. I loved seeing Thrawn in media. I think Lars Mikkelsen did a phenomenal job with the voice. Loved some of the outsmarting the rebels with battle tactics and decimating Phoenix Squadron. I did not like, however, how many times the rebels escaped, and he was like, "Oh, it's all part of the larger plan. 'Twas but barely a setback." And it was a lot of like the TV show animation mustache twirling villain of "We'll get him next time." Scooby, what do you think though, guys?
Yeah, I think it was like the constraints of what his purpose and need was for in that show as the villain. I don't think my hot take is I don't think Filoni gets Thrawn fully, and I don't think he writes him super well.
Okay, so I've got a more generous taste.
He's more aligned with Legends original or like OT trilogy villain. But I think that there's some aspects where you're like, Thrawn would have a plan for that.
Sure, right. Yeah, and he got beat by a space moose, so at least there's that. A shout out to our friend Emma, who rides her moose to college. Meg, you're our resident Rebels stan. What's your take on this? What do you think of Thrawn in Rebels? Do you like his portrayal in Rebels?
I can never say anything bad about Rebels ever. Sorry, I can't do it.
I've got a few things to say. No, I love
you want to fight? You want to fight about it?
I love it. I'm just messing with you.
Rebels is very important to me. I'm trying to remember because I don't remember the exact timing, but I will say that Rebels was a very, very early introduction to Thrawn for me. I don't remember what books I'd read before that I'd seen that. Not very many Thrawn before I saw Thrawn in Rebels. So to me, Thrawn, my origin with Thrawn is Rebels. So, he is very much like the villain character in Rebels because that's just what his purpose is. And in the books, he's not, especially he's not that really. He's, more of the anti-hero or whatever you want to call him. Not necessarily like a villain as he is in Rebels, but I think for the purpose that he serves, it works really well. And he comes in season 3, which is the best one. So
is it?
Do you want to fight me?
No, I don't mean that sounded more facetious than I intended. I had never thought, what is the best Rebel season? That's not a question I'd ever ask myself.
I
3 and 4.
I
definitely.
can go on for hours about season 3. Don't worry about it.
It is. All right. I think I've only seen season 3 twice, season 4 once, so I might be due for a rewatch. There's a lot of I got a lot of Legends video games to play. As do you, Meg. You got to play KOTOR.
Yeah, you're right.
Freddie, what's your take on this? Thrawn and Rebels. Have you seen it?
Yeah, I've seen it. I wouldn't say that I'm not a fan of Rebels, as I like Rebels. Put a Star Wars in front of me. It doesn't matter what it is, I'm going to like it.
Yeah.
I'd never clinged on to it as hard as I did with like the Clone Wars and especially Genndy Tartakovsky. Oh man, I'll never say his name right. Okay. You can say it for me, Jared.
Tartakovsky.
Tartakovsky. There you go.
It's like we're going to the symphony. We're going to hear a nice Tartakovsky.
So that's what I focused a lot on. And Rebels, it was good. I liked it. There was nothing wrong with it, but I never really dug into it as much. So, but when I'll tell you what though, when I heard Thrawn was coming out, that's what got my attention. So I started paying attention to that, and when I got the vibe, I was like, oh, okay, this is I wasn't sure which way they were going to go with Thrawn, and when I started watching it, I was like, they went with original Thrawn that I know of, right? This is the Thrawn, the evil, ruthless Thrawn, the heir to the Empire Thrawn, and I was okay with it. I liked it a lot. The only thing I didn't like, and I guess it just comes the nature of television, right? Is how do we make these people survive the next round, right? And I know his whole point was eventually to find as many of the rebels that he could to wipe out, but at the same time, I think there might have been better ways to do it, because I honestly didn't feel like the core team really should have been able to escape from somebody like him, right? I feel like how did you guys manage that? Come on, like the ragtag group, I don't think you're on that level, especially from what I know of Thrawn, what I've seen in the books. You've got to be a strategy genius. To do that, right?
This scrappy little crew, like they can outsmart Thrawn. Ezra, like Ezra can outsmart Thrawn. Ezra. Oh my gosh.
So that's my
hate
thought, right? It's just it's the nature of television. That's all I chuck it up to.
Yeah, that's good. One thing I haven't said yet is there's no calamari. I love those things. I like my Thrawn with a big yellow lizard on his shoulder. And if you don't have a yellow lizard, he doesn't have my stamp of approval. I want to see a lizard on his freaking shoulder. I want to see... All right, whatever comes next with Ezra and Thrawn, first of all, please kill off Ezra. Second of all, I want to see them discover... I'm kidding. I'm just messing with y'all. I want to see... I just shot first like Greedo. All right, I want to see them stranded on a random planet, having to do like a trek through the jungle like Luke and Mara did in Heir to the Empire. I want to see like a reverse of that, but with Thrawn and Ezra. And then they find like some calamari, and then Thrawn's like, I like him. And then he just keeps him on his shoulder for the rest of the show. And then Ezra can't use the Force on him. But Ezra likes animals. That's his thing. And so like they get some pet calamari, and that's as far as my idea is, and we'll keep workshopping it. I'm kind of liking it. All right. This has been a lot of fun. Can't wait to continue this conversation next week, Cheryl. We're going to talk all about the overarching questions. We're talk about more connections to Survivor's Quest. We're going to talk more about the Vagari. We're going to talk about Thrawn. Is he a better Zahn? Is he a better sequel era writer, original trilogy era writer, prequel era writer? We got a lot of fun stuff to dive into next week. Coming up, also, next couple of episodes to be paying attention to next week, of course, is going to be our second part roundtable on Outbound Flight. From there, we are also going to be doing, coming up soon, a review, a roundtable on the Star Wars Insider Fiction Collection, if mine ever shows up in the mail. And then the next roundtable coming up after that with a few other kinds of episodes sprinkled in there just for fun. Eventually coming up in June, we will do the Shadows of the Empire crossover event with the Cosmic Force. So looking forward to that. We have War of the Bounty Hunters just started this week in Marvel Comics. And in a lot of ways, it's paying homage to the old school Legends classic Shadows of the Empire, which I have yet to ever crack open. I have never touched it. And just pulled it off the shelf yesterday. I'm thinking about starting it. It might happen. It's going to happen for when we talk about it, and I can't wait to do that. Looking forward to that a lot. Cheryl, have you ever read Shadows of the Empire?
I don't think so.
Well, now you're going to have a good excuse.
Memory for books that I've read like a super long time ago.
Nothing wrong with that. How about you, Meg?
No.
Great. Hey, it's going to be new for all of us. Freddie, I didn't ask you. Have you read it yet?
Of course. Yeah, of course. Yeah, I like it.
It's a staple.
It's a staple. It definitely is. And that timeline, that time frame, when we were in a Star Wars drought. That was a thirst quencher.
Cool. Yeah, it's 96, I think. Man,
Yeah.
that's just right when I was getting into Star Wars. I'm so excited. All right. Yeah. I've started picking up the Shadows of the Empire action figures. I've got
Same.
Boosh already. I've got Shizor. I almost bought Dash Rendar at the store the other day, and I passed on Dash. I felt like Dash needed to be passed on because that's like his whole thing. He's like the wannabe Han Solo. He's like your second choice. So next time I'll go back and get him. But I'm only going to get him if I can also buy the Outrider, which they also sell at my store. It's like $165, and it's like, do I need to spend that much on a plastic spaceship? Yes, but I don't want my wife to find out about it, so I probably shouldn't have said it on the podcast. But she doesn't listen anyway, so it'll probably be fine. Clearly, I'm going to need Thrawn's help in plotting this out. I need like a whole grand scheme and infiltration mission. Well, that does it for this week. Thanks for joining us for Legends Lookback. Thanks, of course, to our incredible patrons for your support. Two of whom are even here with us live tonight. Special thank you to our friend right here, right now, is Cheryl Bell. Also to Patrick Ortiz, Carl Sander on our Jedi High Council, as well as to Elizabeth Cloutier, whose name I say differently every week. Sorry about that. Jason Mitchell and Sally and Chris Eilerson and Freddy C on our Alliance High Command. Thank you for your amazing support. Also, if you'd like your thoughts read on the show, like we've had from some of our folks live here in the chat, well, one way, of course, if you're listening on audio later, is join us live Thursday nights, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time, 6:30 p.m. in the other time for those folks. Email it, Pacific Time, that's what it's called. Another way is to email us at legendslookback@utini.com or send us a message in the Legends Lookback Discord channel. You can leave a comment on this episode on YouTube. Should probably go back and read those sometime soon. I'm sure there's comments. Sorry, y'all. Also, find us on Twitter at Legends Lookback. Or you can find me. I'm at Jared Q. Mays. Freddy?
At Wake Up Freddy.
Meg?
At Meg Dowell.
Excellent. Always got some spicy takes over there if you want to hang out in that wretched hive of scum and villainy. Also, if you'd like to buy some of these books and want to help support the show, you can look up a book on Utini, click the Amazon link in the profile, and you can, of course, click through to Thrift Books or eBay. I think we got those over there as well. Grab your copy of Outbound Flight, get the paperback, get the Kindle, the audiobook. It's abridged, but it's pretty long. It's pretty good. Also, you could get your shorty hardback or your regular size hardback. Doesn't matter. Read the book. Then let us know what you think. Leave us a review. We'd love to know how you rate this bad boy. Do you put it higher than Meg, lower than Cheryl, somewhere in between, or neither? Hey, we can't wait to hear. Remember, of course, regardless of how you rate Outbound Flight, let's keep the Utini fan code and also be a force for positivity in the fandom. Good night, everybody. May the force be with you.
This is a Utini broadcast.